Hello, all of you wonderful, fantastic, and elegant listeners and viewers of Go! My favorite sports team. We're back with another episode. It's me, your master of balls and holes, Tyler Scheid himself, joined by, well, I'm alone. I've been abandoned. I've been left behind by my co-host. Honestly, don't know where he is or what happened. I haven't heard from him in weeks. I hope he's okay. I assume he's okay. I know he's busy. I know he's working on things. Big projects, perhaps. Things you might have heard about. I don't know. But he has abandoned me. He has fully abandoned me. And so here alone I am. I am alone. I'm very alone. I'm so alone, abandoned forever. But my friend, my co-host, the glorious man himself, has lost his glory.
What do you mean? I'm here. My name is Markiplier, and I've been here the whole time. I would never abandon my friend and not leave him unmessaged or anything. No, I've been here ready to talk sports. Yeah, sports. Sports. That's what we do. Right? That's what this podcast is about. Hello, everybody. My name is Markiplier, and we're here for Go, my favorite sports team.
Have you been under my desk like this whole time?
Yeah, that's not weird. Why would that be weird? Oh. Okay, that's a little bit weird, but there's an obvious explanation. I'm just short, and I fit under there really easily.
Okay, so you didn't abandon me?
I would never. Are you kidding me? You're my bestest friend.
Oh, thanks for the hug. I really didn't expect a hug at all, but
that's what friends are for.
Anyway, say hi to Mark, everybody.
Hello.
I told them to say hi to you, not you to them.
Yeah, well, I want to say hi to them too. What do you think I am? A puppet?
We're not going to mention that. But anyway, we're here to impart knowledge on you about Go, my favorite sports team. Mark, you left out a lot of jacuzzes. You haven't been paying attention to the jacuzzes. So I'm gonna read them for our audience, you know? We're gonna tell them everything that's going on. Is that what we're doing today? Is that cool with you?
Yeah, that's fine, but you can't blame me. It's obviously been you the whole time. You're the one being accused.
I really don't think that's the case.
Yeah, well, that's what we do here. You're at fault.
All right. Well, anyway, I guess we should jump into news then.
I thought today was about jacuzzes. There's news?
There's always news in sport. For one, you remember when we talked about the episode, about injuries and concussions and player health and responsibility and stuff like that?
Oh, is it that Tua guy?
Yeah, he got hurt again.
Good God. Did he hurt his brain?
Yes. So Tua Tagovailoa is probably out for at least next week, probably more, dealing with another concussion. It seems like he got concussed in the fencing pose. And the part about this that probably irritates me the most is obviously he wasn't doing anything outside of normal football, right? But he did something that you're kind of not supposed to do as a quarterback, and it was the fact that he kind of went forward and lowered his helmet. And it's something you shouldn't do in football in general, is lower your helmet at all, because that causes a whole other slew of issues. So Tua unfortunately got concussed again. Again, in football, very fundamental thing, don't lower the helmet, always be aware of your surroundings, and he got knocked unconscious. Feel awful for the guy. I think he should retire at this point. That's at least three times he's gotten concussed to the point of getting into what is called the fencing position, which is when your brain is like obviously damaged and injured and your body kind of seizes up in response to it. And so feel bad for the guy. I hope he gets better, but for the sake of his health and well-being, I think he should retire.
Well, football is a terrible sport, and very violent. And if you're getting beat up like that, I probably agree. Your health should come first. Boxers, they put themselves in harm's way all the time. And so it makes sense for you to kind of take care of your body when you have so many other things to worry about, like family and life.
Yeah. So feel bad for the guy. In other sporting news, the NFL season obviously started because we're talking about that. Florida State is now 0-3 after starting the season ranked. So that's all football stuff. Another crazy thing is United States and Spain seal their spots in the Davis Cup final, which is for tennis, I believe. Victory for the U.S. also meant Germany qualified for the final 8. So it's all the final 8, and it seems to be tennis. I didn't even know there was a country tennis thing. Let me look up what the Davis Cup is. What is the Davis Cup? It's showing a picture of tennis. So, oh, it's the World Cup of Tennis. Okay, that makes sense. It looks like it's the Men's World Cup because there's a picture of Mackenzie McDonald. And he's, I guess, the face for the U.S. Olympic team, or not Olympic team, the World Cup team for tennis for the U.S. So pretty insane news that the U.S. is doing a great job in tennis. So exciting for them.
Was there blood on the court? You know, what kind of court surface did they use?
Mark, there is no blood court surface. It was probably clay or grass or some of the other ones.
We talked about it. There was a blood surface. Lots of surfaces in tennis. Many options. As long as ball bounce, it's good.
Yeah, okay. Anyway. Oh, God. Mark, your head is so warm. But what we're going to be doing today is we're going to do the jacuzzes. Mark is gone. I've abandoned him to his workings on his other projects, and we're gonna sit here and we're gonna have a nice conversation. I'm gonna read your jacuzzes, the ones that have long been overlooked, long been left behind. We're gonna start out with a great one. This one is by Brilliant Skill 2882. By the way, I'm being possessed this time. I am the ghost possession, and then I'm responding to them. So deal with it. You're gonna have an internal fight with me as we go through. So Brilliant Skill 2882. Send your jacuzzes for us to read my ass. I don't want to read your ass. I'll just be honest. I don't want to read your ass. You guys have not read any jacuzzes in so many episodes. At this point, are you just lying to us? I have made so many jacuzzes ever since us fans in Utah got a hockey team because Arizona Coyotes didn't have enough fans. I know hockey is a sensitive subject, but you can at least mention this hockey history, please. You know, I don't care. I don't think that's newsworthy enough. I don't think that warrants a discussion. I don't think it adds anything that's like an element to the podcast. I get it's newsworthy. Utah's getting a hockey team. It makes sense. I get it. Arizona's losing a hockey team. We're not a hockey podcast, all right? And that's very minute news in the grand scheme of sports. No offense to you. It's big news locally. But internationally, nationally, universally, not so big of a deal. Teams move pretty frequently, especially teams at the lower levels. And, you know, the Arizona Coyotes have been at the lower levels, even though they're NHL, which is the highest level in hockey. Whatever. It wasn't something that was worthy of discussion, I guess. But I did mention your previous jacuzzes where you wanted us to vote on the name of the new Utah hockey team. And congratulations to Utah for winning a team. And wow, Arizona, how bad could you be to like kick a professional sports team out of your city? Like nobody was going to support games. I hope Utah's excited. I hope it gets the support it deserves. I hope the team does well, but we'll see. There's been a lot of movement in hockey lately, so it's kind of one of those things where there's been a lot of movement of teams and stuff like that. It wasn't that big of a deal for us and for the world. Now, jumping to the next jacuzz, because banish that one. Caitlin Clark is the title. All right, I'm only going to guess that this is a Caitlin Clark hater. Tyler brings Caitlin Clark up too much. Me? Excuse me. There's a person who needs to chime in on it. I'm not even reading the rest of this jacuzz by you, awkward software 556. I'm not reading it until Mark responds.
Yeah. What is this about Caitlin Clark? My favorite sports person of all time? Yeah, I made this the Caitlin Clark podcast. I was the one who called it out and wanted to hear Caitlin Clark news all the time.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah, that's me. I'm the one who made this the Caitlin Clark podcast. I'm the one who made it about Caitlin Clark. So whatever you're saying that Tyler brings it up too much, you need to understand that I asked for it. And I'm the one who did all the things to make it the Caitlin Clark podcast. Plus, she's insane. Incredible. And probably the most notable sports athlete across the globe with relation to basketball and women's sports in general at this very moment. So it's worth it.
All right, now that Mark has chimed in, let's finish your cues. There's tons of other athletes to bring up and focus on. I think Mark addressed that. I think he has a liking of Caitlin Clark that is a bit more than a sports interest. No, she's an incredible athlete who is rising to famedom and MVP status, in my opinion, in the world of basketball. It's like if you were around for the days of Michael Jordan and the fame and chaos that ensued when he made it to the NBA and absolutely blew open the door and made basketball such a massive global phenomenon. Granted, Magic Johnson did the same thing, Larry Bird and stuff like that, but Jordan brought it to a different dimension. You're talking about the way Nike shoes, building the whole shoe brand, so much that Jumpman is one of the most iconic things in all of sports, but also memorabilia. You're talking about merchandise. Like, if I put Jumpman in front of almost anyone in the world, there's a high likelihood they would understand where that's coming from. And if you don't know what the Jumpman is, it's the logo for Air Jordan. It's like the Air Jordan logo. He's got his legs stretched, basketball in his hand. It's all over his shoes, stuff like that. But like, the name Jordan resonates across everything else. Caitlin Clark is doing that for women's basketball now. She is also like the Steph Curry of basketball, all right? Like in the instance of the Olympics, it makes a lot of sense to have an older, more senior player go instead of a new person who is hyped up. I'm not even gonna warrant that with a response because Caitlin Clark, frankly, is the best player in the NBA right now, period. I know she's not a pure scorer. I know she turns over the ball a lot, but a good amount of her turnovers are drop passes, and the way that stat is recorded is a little of an issue. Give her a couple years in the WNBA and see if she still cuts it. Excuse me, she is breaking career records in the NBA. She's breaking the career assists record. She just broke the record for most assists in a season, period. There's so many records she's just absolutely fundamentally breaking, without even mentioning the fact that her name alone brought tons more fans, like almost doubled the market share of the WNBA, if not exactly, more than that to an extent. Made it so WNBA players now are riding on private jets instead of riding on standard travel jets that you and me kind of ride on. The notoriety she has brought to the WNBA just by playing in the WNBA is insane, and is something that will be studied in marketing. It'll be studied in sports and studied in every aspect of everything, because she is a player that carries so much weight that people are going and watching and paying attention to her every move. And it's insane. And she's excelling, absolutely excelling, breaking record after record, first rookie to triple double, and she did it twice. And if you don't know what a triple double is, I talked about it in the last episode with my buddy Sigils. It's getting double digits in 3 positive statistical categories. That's rebounds, assists, points, blocks, those types of stats. Very important statistical category. And the amount of attention she brings, frankly, she should be at the top of the MVP race, because frankly, the MVP title shouldn't be about the best scorer or best player in the NBA. It needs to go beyond that, because it's the value that you add to the team. Before Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever were one of the worst teams in the league, and now they make the playoffs. They're also going to have a winning record for the first time in like 6 years or something. The fact that she has taken that team, elevated them to that next level, taken that WNBA, elevated them in the sense of attention, taken women's basketball, elevated that in the sense of attention from the public, and people are talking about women's basketball now, is huge. She did the same thing in college. She broke barriers that people didn't realize were there, and all of a sudden now women's basketball is about basketball. It's about being good. She's excelling. So if you think I bring up Caitlin Clark too much, that's on Mark for asking for it. And part 2, it's because she deserves it. So be gone, awkward software. Psh. On to the next jacuzz. This one's just titled Jacuzz. This one's by Wooden Assignment 40. Tyler, how dare you? How can you have a leap day episode? Oh, this is an older one. And leave out some of the most important leaping sports worldwide. You left out the 3 Olympic recognized sports: high jump, long jump, pole vault. Reason for that. Now, I do recognize that you mentioned pole vault once during the episode, but have yet talked about it, in your words, games that are arguably not sports at all. Why were there 3 of the hardest, technically speaking, Olympic sports left out of the leaping episode? What do you have to say for yourself? 1, they're not the 3 hardest sports, nowhere near the 3 hardest Olympic sports. Maybe leaping sports, they're kind of top tier, but I would never classify them as highly difficult sports in the grand scheme of things and comparing all sports together. But that's an opinion thing. I think there's a lot of skill involved. But I left it out because there's this whole thing called track and field, right? And there's an episode probably to talk about track and field where we get into all the different elements of track and field. In fact, some of those elements like long jump, high jump, and pole vault, well, I don't know if pole vault's involved, are involved in other sport categories like the decathlon. Very important for you to understand that sometimes things get left out on purpose. But thank you for bringing up this jacuzz. Rather worthy, but not quite. But it is worthy. I'll give you that. That's a worthy jacuzz. Now we're on to how dare you not mention the European Football Cup, Drockles 21. I am not a huge soccer fan, but I am still miffed at the fact in this week's episode, History of the Olympics, that you go ahead and mention the Copa de America. Well, you never in any previous episode mentioned that the European Cup was ongoing. I'm pretty sure I mentioned the European Cup, maybe in that same episode. Even as a non-football fan, I am sad at the fact that you ignored one of the biggest tournaments in Europe. It is a small thing to be miffed at, and my country may have been knocked out in the 1/8 final. But I will not let it slide that you, Mark, and Tyler ignored this, as I doubt your sources would have neglected to mention this massive tournament. Merely a tiny miffed non-football fan. So there's an interesting thing, and I've talked about it. Sporting news, trying to find stuff outside of North America when North America sports are going on is a little bit difficult. I usually do research just before the episode to try and pull up sports things, right? And I wish I had mentioned more of the European Football Cup. But the only stories we have of this is this team won, this team did this did that. And there's not really anything compelling to talk about. You know, I want sporting news to have discussion. I want sporting news to have intrigue beyond just, oh, score this, score that, if that makes sense. That's why that probably wasn't mentioned as well. News for one. Two, there wasn't anything listed over here in the US that was compelling. And I did look. Trust me, I did look. Now we're on to Tyler, you fool. Well, you're off to a bad start calling me Tyler, you fool. Tyler, you sweet, innocent boy. I was listening to your hobby horse episode and I was excited about it. Until, by the way, this is AFA Plus. You made the claim that hobby horsing probably takes more athleticism than actual horse riding because the horse does all the work. One, that is a misquote. Probably said most of the work, if not all of the work. That's probably more accurate to what I said. I don't think I ever said the horse does all of the work, but in all fairness, it does like 99% at least. How dare you? You wouldn't believe my buns of steel, watermelon crushing thighs, and a linebacker looking back. All you have to stay on the horse is your muscle and balance. You don't necessarily use your weight in the stirrups. Maybe if you actually did an equine sport coverage, you'd know the basics of it. But look at you, you made assumptions, and you know what they say? You shit. Love you guys. ETA, I've been in the horse show world for 15 years with 2 world championships and equitation, is that a word? I would think equestrian. Here's the thing. I've ridden a horse. I've galloped a horse. I've trotted a horse. I've cantered a horse. I've jumped a horse. I've ridden many horses in my lifetime. I am a self-proclaimed horse boy growing up, and I'll have you know, that horse does a shit ton more work than you do. I am not going to mince words on this. If you think that you holding on to a horse that's running majority of the time and you're directing it is anywhere near as much work as that horse puts in, you're kidding yourself. I'm not going to say that riding a horse doesn't require some level of balance, athleticism, stability, muscles, you have to hold on. But what I am saying is those horses are incredibly trained. Yes, you have to brace yourself in the jumps, but you ain't jumping. The athleticism of people that are riding the wooden horses, pretending and gallivanting with their legs, 1000% is far more athletic than people riding horses and having the horses do the jumping, the running, the trotting, the dancing, stuff like that. I mean, hell, you train horses well enough, they're smart as shit. And they can do the whole kind of shebang dance kind of on their own. Granted, it requires training the same routine over and over and over. You can also get them to alert to the bell or something with relation to a start or a trigger at the beginning of a race. Like, there are ways to condition horses to be trained to do things, which is what a lot of them do. I'd say barrel racing is probably the most athletic of all the equestrian sports that are out there. And that's not even in the equestrian category to a degree, because you see that more at rodeos. So if you want to come at me being like, oh, I've ridden horses too. I haven't competed at the level that you have, but I also have done a good amount of the things that are done in those level of things. Yeah. You got to keep yourself still. There's stability muscles involved. But a good amount of it is just understanding how to brace and balance yourself so that you don't injure the horse while on its back, while it's doing the jumps and the things that it's doing, and also to maintain stability and be still. I think horse shows where people are doing crazy tricks on the horses and hanging off the side, a little more athletic than doing dressage. Just saying. There's a reason why there's plenty of older people that compete in the equestrian category of the Olympics. Honestly, I think some of the oldest Olympians are in that category. So, be gone! Hey! On to the next one. I jacuzz thy butler. Electrical 2, spelled out TWO, 3789. Mr. Tyler Shaw. Or should I say, Benjamin Butler. Bonjour. I've never used a Reddit before, so the severity of which I find this transgression is enough for me to come marching over into uncharted lands. I have been recently catching up on GMFST episodes and came upon the March Madness bet from 2022. The rules had been established that if Mark won, Tyler would spend the day as Benjamin from Who Killed Markiplier and be Mark's butler. It was also promised that this would be posted on the GMFST YouTube page. Come to find out that despite Mark winning, even picking Kansas as the champion, no video was ever made, and as far as I'm aware, no such mentioning of it since. Silence! I suspect some of this might have been related to Mark's very busy movie schedule. Understandably, seeing as Mark returned from his hiatus in the Blood Ocean, now would be the opportune time. Oh, you're funny. You think he's done. So, Tyler, are you a man of honor and willing to fulfill a bet that's been hanging out to dry for more than 2 years? Or are the days of Benjamin Butler as dead as his master? If only you're still alive. Sincerely, a Benjamin Butler fan. I hope you enjoyed that voice. That was me trying to, dive into Benjamin Butler again. Yeah, Mark's busy. Hasn't been done. Also, a couple of hiccups have occurred with relation to the YouTube channel, not to mention busy schedules and the fact that I don't fit into the Benjamin Butler costume anymore. Also, the fact that I'm supposed to buttle Mark, but complications. Be gone! I hope to eventually fulfill that, by the way. Sport is not a classification. Oh, you funny. You are funny. I don't even know if this is worth my time, but I'm going to read it anyway, CryptoJN. Long have the elegant listeners listened to elegant podcasts. That is, go my favorite sports team. And long have many listeners cried out in anguish at their favorite game being cast aside into the inky black depths of the abyss known as not a sport, to be forever forgotten and to never be covered on the podcast. And I, for one, say nay. For many a moon, the magnanimous Mark and tentative Tyler have diligently debated about what classifies a sport, and while typically I am not one to question the master in balls and holes, I feel my voice and dissent must be heard on this topic, as I believe that decrying something to be or not to be a sport is the wrong perspective to hold. No. But I'll continue. Just as the kingdom Animalia includes all creatures, mammals, reptiles, amphibians, birds, insects, and fish alike, I believe that sport should be viewed in much the same light. Tossing the old pigskin can be a sport, while just tossing it isn't a sport. And as can paragliding. Yes, paragliding is a sport, it has a governing body, there are clear rules and defined things. Tag, juggling, and even sex be considered a sport. Sex isn't a sport. Juggling isn't a sport. Tag has a competitive league. There's an aspect of different types of juggling that can be a sport, but juggling in and of itself is a showmanship thing. Wouldn't call it a sport. Why can't esports, I never said anything about esports not being a sport, chess, not a sport, and music not a sport, not be considered a sport. Mark and Tyler classify a sport as an activity which requires significant athletic ability and is participated in a structured manner that lends itself to clearly defining a winner and loser. Why is chess, esports, and the Battle of Bands, all of which have significant athletic ability? Though mayhaps not all physical ability may be considered not sport, you're not reaching all the requirements. Organized body, repeatability, which means objectively told the result. Music will never be objective because there's selective bias and favoritism with relation to music. Athletic and skill involved. There's a few other things, but yeah, the clear thing is governing body, a clear set of rules, and that sort of thing. So yeah, distinctly laid out. And chess, just there was a level in which we had that discussion. If you listen to the chess thing as to why it's not. They should be is the answer. No. Be gone. Waste of my time. Jacuzz, a polite request. Dear esteemed masters of balls and holes, Sherlock the Warlock has written this one. I would like to present myself before thou as but a humble student of the art of history. I do not come to question the profound depths of Tyler's knowledge of spheres and cavernous spaces, nor Mark's immeasurable expertise in the realm of comedy. However, I must protest a grievous error has been made on more than one occasion. These exemplars of human thought have continuously shamed themselves with their articulation of historical affairs. And while I certainly do love the history whoopsies here and there, I would like to think that these scions in the way of sports knowledge might have a better idea of when certain things happened over the course of human affairs that didn't involve sports specifically. Or maybe they do. Please consider this accusation of the highest order a jacuzz. I believe it is what is referred to. While I do very much enjoy your content and seek to experience more of how it is that I can finger sports more efficiently and effectively, don't read too much into that last part. Please make yourselves more acquainted with the beauty that is human chronological experience, and not sound like a bunch of children slamming themselves into keyboard whenever they bring the subject up. Always a pleasure listening to y'all. Cheers, can't wait for the next one. Huh? I don't understand this accuse. You're not pointing out anything that was wrong. You're just like, be mindful of history. And I'm like, okay, you're not pointing out anything. Thank you, the whimsical Sherlock, for a waste of my time. Hoboken and Baseball by Metallic Dragon 23. Hoboken. Hoboken. Ooh, Kaioken. Ooh, Kaioken times 10. I don't know how to pronounce that word. Hoboken. I know the baseball episode was a really, really long time ago now, but I just remembered I didn't make this post. Tyler, how dare you not mention my hometown/city of Hoboken, New Jersey, the place of the first baseball game and home of the Knickerbockers. We may have lost, but it was us who hosted the momentous occasion in history on June 19th, 1846. All the love to you both. Happy July 4th, Anthony T. Because it does not matter. And there's no proof that it was the first occurrence of the baseball game as we know it today. But we do know that the Cincinnati Reds, or Red Stockings, or Red Legs, were the first professional baseball franchise in history. And that's all that matters. Knickerbockers is a great name, though. Be gone! Is sumo wrestling not wrestling? Scarlet Cat 13. First of all, sumo wrestling technically is not wrestling. It is called sumo. Sumo wrestling was added to it in the Americanized English version in the sense of to give us a better understanding of what it is. It is a fantastic sport, but it is not wrestling. It has different elements to wrestling. It's very interesting, and I like it a lot. In fact, there's a great Netflix show that talks about sumo. Sumo Netflix show. Sanctuary. Not an ad for Netflix, but Sumo Sanctuary. I actually watched this. Fantastic show. Enjoyed the hell out of it. Excited for it to continue, but it talks about like the tradition of sumo and some chaos and some awesome stuff. It's a great drama series. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. As a new listener to GMFST and a nerdling who is more interested in the humor and random knowledge I can use in social situations than the sports, I never expected to make a jacuzz, especially as I decided to start listening from most recent and work backward. But then I hit the wrestling episode, and you forced my hand. There wasn't a wrestling episode. I don't think we've ever done a wrestling primer, unless you're talking about the WWE wrestling being fake one, because it is a simulation of actions. They're really doing them, but it's like stunt work. And I know people hate that I say that it's fake, but for something to be not real, it is not real violence. Therefore, it is fake violence. There you go. Not going to push it any further because they do some insane stuff. They're insanely athletic. It's really cool to watch. I enjoy it, but I also recognize it as not being real. Tyler is the master of balls and holes. I guess it is to expect it. Any sport not involving balls and holes would have some gaps, like between your cheeks. But I, as a nerd with the superficial understanding of Japanese culture, was reminded of sumo's existence as you talked about wrestling. Kept waiting for it to come up, but it never did. Now, you may do a primer on it in the future, as it deserves its own. Yes, I hope to. But that was not my point. How, when you mention WWE, and don't think I don't see it got its own episode, do you not at least bring up sumo wrestling in passing? It's right there in the name. Except it's not, because it's really called sumo. I don't expect Mark as uncultured as he is. Whoa, bold claims. Bold claims of Mark.
You say I'm uncultured? How could you do that to me? I'm half Korean. I've been to Korea. I've been to many countries. I am more cultured than Tyler himself.
Well, that's fair. I'm very white. I'm English, Polish, and German by blood, so.
Yeah, exactly. How could you say I'm uncultured? Rah!
But you, master of balls and holes and the knowledgeable one in sports, should know better. So I write this accused demanding an explanation. Is sumo wrestling not wrestling? No, it is not. It is technically sumo. Muay Thai, it's like saying Muay Thai is boxing when it's not, but it's known as another name as Thai boxing, but it's not really boxing. So it's very minute. It's a nuance. It's a nuance. So, be gone, jacuzz. Now it's wrong about Canada winning the Stanley Cup. All right, this is already wrong because no Canadian team has won. Just because Canadian players are on teams doesn't mean Canada won. Canada needs to keep their players in their own country if they want to win. So I'm excited to read this jacuzz, but you're already wrong in saying that I'm wrong because Canada has not won. It's even in the record books, and all the news stations recognize the fact that the Stanley Cup is not won by Canada, hasn't been won by Canada in a long time. No Canadian team. So I'll read this. Old recognition 5808. I'm sorry, you're probably Canadian, but you lose in more ways than one. But also you don't, because you get great maple syrup and some other stuff. So Tim Hortons. While listening to the beginning of the 4th of July episode, I simply could not stand the slander thrown upon my home country. Simply put, both of our esteemed hosts would have the prior knowledge that the NHL has 25 teams based in the US, while Canada has 7. Yes, statistical probability. A total of 32 teams statistically. That's math. 25 plus 7 equals 32. Statistically, the US-based team always has a better chance of the glory that is raising 34 pounds of silver above their head. I don't agree with that. Simply because, yes, they have more teams, therefore more statistical opportunities, but based upon what you're about to say, which I imagine is about the roster composition of said teams more specifically in the Stanley Cup final consist of a majority of Canadians, why didn't they stay in Canada? I'm pretty sure Canada can pay them the same way, because if you argue that everyone has the same statistical chance of the 32 teams to field the same set of players and pay them the set amount, why are you not retaining your players, huh? What's going on with Canada? I don't even need the rest of this jacuzz because your jacuzz is simply wrong. Also, the owner of the Oilers is not an oil tycoon. That's fair. The name derives from one of our biggest exports. Well, still, that's still a problem. Why name it after an export? Why name it after something that's pollutant and horrible to the environment? Why don't call it dinosaurs? Because dinosaurs made the oil. You know, their bones and fossils are there. Why couldn't you just be the Edmonton Ecuadoriosaurs? Take that, Canada. I'm sorry. You can't win in Stanley Cup. Ha! I laugh in your face. All right, next jacuzz. They beat you to it. I don't think anyone beat me to anything. White Knights 97. Mark, Tyler, this podcast is the most premier sporting podcast, right? Wrong! This podcast is supposed to be the go-to place to get sporting information and the best primers. And imagine my utter shock to see the Mythical Kitchen podcast. A hot dog is a sandwich. I think that's a YouTube video. Have beaten you to the idea and question of, is cooking a sport? Because this podcast has beaten you to it on January 11, 2023, with an episode titled exactly that. How are you supposed to be the sporting podcast and mean sports knowers and master of balls and holes when other podcasts usurp your theme? One, they didn't, because we definitely mentioned it way back in one of our earliest episodes, definitely before 2023, where we mentioned competitive cooking and considering it potentially a sport. It might even be in our very first episode. Even in the comments, Covenant says they did discuss it a little in the cheerleading as a sport episode, and they ruled in a similar manner of it, competitive cooking is a sport. And in the Thanksgiving episode. See, I didn't even need to respond. the people had my back and understood. Shame on you and jacuzz you. All right, on to the next one, which shall be Tyler, you absolute buffoon. Me a buffoon? Yeah, that's funny, right, Mark? Right, Mark? This is funny. This is really funny. I'm a buffoon. Oh, Tyler, you nincompoop. Thank you. Stick my dick up your asshole. You, as the so-called master of balls and holes with your master's degree, have some explaining to do. You, having done at least 3 Olympics episodes and mentioned the Olympics over 24 times, have only ever mentioned in passing the absolute beauty that is the noble sport of archery. This is starting to seem like an episode suggestion. You've had 3 seasons of crying out loud. It's in the Olympics. It has clear winners. It is known across the world and has existed for centuries. I mean, come on. It's a sport that requires great athletic abilities and exists to show off skill in the most elegant of ways. So I say, Tyler, what the fuck? Yes, I know you're gonna say that this is an episode suggestion, but it needed to be said. Well, you called me out. I'll give you that win for knowing that it is an episode suggestion, but that also tells you it's an episode suggestion, and you should probably put it in the right flair and not jacuzz me about it, because when people jacuzz me about episode suggestions, you wanna know what happens? Out of spite, I go, that one can wait, and I push it down the line. So, you know where archery got pushed down? Down the line. You have been punished. Take that, ya ningapoop. A triple A what? Oh, you're talking about the triple double. Jester Joe, thank you for the jacuzz. Good point to bring up. I answered it in the last episode, and I talked about it previously in this episode, so response to your jacuzz. Homework time for Tyler and Mark 2, I guess. All right, what's this? The Key Thief. I am here to raise a complaint, or as your lovely folks call it, a jacuzz. It's about time for Tyler and all his degree in sports administration to talk about the documentary Icarus. Netflix, i.e. the Russian, we're shouting out Netflix. Netflix, please sponsor us. I'm giving you shout outs for some stuff, so show me the money. The Russian doping scandal that dates back to 1968 but came to light in 2016. I question all claims to Tyler's credibility and honor as a sports knower and master of balls and holes. He has yet to educate our poor plebeian Markiplier on this truly dark moment in sports history. We did talk about doping. We had PED episode in the sport, and it was mentioned previously. I believe, there might even be comments that say we did briefly mention it. I don't think it's necessarily worthy of a full insight thing, but we did do a performance enhancing episode. I don't need any humble pie, and I'm not afraid of the KGB. Please don't kill me. Please don't hunt me down. But maybe I should check out that documentary. So I give your jacuzz a great suggestion, but also not a worthy jacuzz, which is probably why Mark glanced over it. Now we've got My Wrath Knows No Bounds. What's this about? Chris on the run. My Wrath Knows No Bounds. Dear Mr. Tyler, the Frenchman Scheid. First of all, not French. And the other one. That's right. You're the ant friend this time. You're it. You're the other one. Ha 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 ha. Wait. No, I didn't mean it. I didn't. Also, I don't care. Mark's more famous than me. I understand I'm his friend. So people will say, oh, you look a lot like Markiplier's friend. That literally has happened. I understand it. It does not bother me because I'm proud to be his friend. It's also nice to be recognized in my own light. Like the fact that this podcast really is more me than it is Mark, which is really great. And I love it. And I love chatting with you guys. And as much as I'm giving you shit during these jacuzzes, it's really a great time. Dear Mr. Tyler, the Frenchman Scheid, I already read this. I'm currently plotting my revenge against you for your crime. Crime so heinous that I have no other choice but to name you to my nemesis. In the last episode titled 2024 Olympics Oopsies, you named several impressive world record-breaking achievements. My big red and white Polish heart broke when I got hear you talk about Polish female speed climber Alexandra Miroslav, who broke her own record from last year during semifinals and then broke it yet again during the final. Did you hear why we stopped listed off names? Did you even pay attention? There's too many to list. You think we just picked to be like, Poland, fuck you. My grandmother was Polish. Why? I'm part Polish. You think I'd go against the Polish people? You think I'd go against Poland? You think I'd have a gripe here? You think it was a personal attack on you? That's a you problem. That's a you problem. Not a me. That's not me. That's a you. You just mad. You just want a reason. Yeah. Apologies that I didn't mention it, but also I didn't mention a whole lot of other world records or record-breaking achievements. So I really think this is a slight that you just need to get over. Yeah. Expelled. Gary Lineker isn't just known as the guy who pooped himself at the World Cup. That's what the majority of people know him as. I know he was a great soccer player, obviously made it in the World Cup. Obviously, he's done a lot of different other things, but I think he is most famous for his pooping. But there's a great picture of him. Is he in his underwear? Oh, he's just in his shorts. Why is he shirtless? I mean, why? Why? This looks like it's in a broadcast. Why is he shirtless? Did he poop his shirt? That's what it tells me. The man pooped his shirt, and so he's shirtless. He pooped his shirt and he's shirtless. Oh my God. Look at him. He pooped his shirt and so he's shirtless. Gary Lineker did it again. Or Lineker. I don't know how to pronounce his name. That's how bad I am. Apparently he became the face of Walker Crisp, the UK brand of Lay's potato chips. Also, this jacuzz is by The Death of Music, by the way, which is apparently UK's Lay's potato chip brand, which they call crisps and they call chips fries. Don't ask me. It makes no sense because everyone else in the world calls them. Don't ask me. Just don't ask me because cookies are biscuits, and I'm like, what? And then what are cookies? What are biscuits? What do you call biscuits? Rolls? But there's a difference between a roll and a biscuit. Answer me, you English people. Highest scoring player, English player in Spanish football history until Gareth Bale took over, so he's not that anymore. And his status is such that Brazilian international defender Felipe Melo named his son Lineker after him. That's pretty cool. He was a great football player, but he still pooped himself. And I think a lot of people still recognize him as the guy who pooped himself. And if he's eating more of the Lay's potato chips, he's probably pooping himself more. And obviously he pooped his shirt, so he had to take it off. Expelled. Now it's time for Mark. You claim to finger sports gentleman, but by Red Truck? Heel 2K7, jacuzz. I hereby challenge you to accept my offer to come up north and finger sports, but not just any sports. Oh, this is you claim to finger sports gentlemen, but because this is a reference to the other one. You boasted that there are no jacuzzs this week. You were either blind or a filthy liar. Tyler France Scheid, that's not my middle name, informed me to post this jacuzz a while ago and you never responded to it. You cannot run forever. Fate has come to you. Answer the challenge. Time to finger the ball sack. And there are many comments yelling, finger the ball sack, remember the ball sack, finger the ball sack for the squad. The original jacuzz apparently is you claim to finger sports gentlemen, but accept an offer to come up north and finger sports, but not just any sports. As you may well know, the Oakland Athletics are in the process of moving to Vegas, but are awaiting construction for 2 years in Sacramento, abbreviated SAC. MLB released the 2025 schedule last week, and during the weekend of June 6th through June 8th, they are playing in this cozy confines of a small stadium in the SAC, Sacramento. Baltimore is coming to visit. You know what that means? That's good because it's like boob and poop that sometimes gets spelled out on the scoreboards when Philadelphia plays the Pirates, or Baltimore plays another B, Bismarck. They have a team, right? That's totally right. I don't even know what the other B team is. Baltimore, Boston and Baltimore. How can I forget Boston? Jacuzzi you to finger the ball sack. I shall save this for when Mark returns. This is interesting. You'll handle the logistics, transportation, tickets, food, lodging? Holy shiz! That'd be incredible. I mean, I'd be down. I'd be down. As long as I don't get shot or murdered, kidnapped, although it'd be adult napping, which actually sounds kind of pleasant because I get to take a nap. But that's not beside the point. Beautiful. I would love to do that. We'll just have to direct it at Mark. You got to get Mark's attention. Just keep at it. Just keep after him. Just keep jacuzzing him. And the final jacuzz is, where are the high quality jacuzzes? And I'm still asking that question. Still asking. Although some of these were quality, I think Mark needs to be a little bit more mindful and pay more attention to all of you elegant listeners and viewers out there. This is by Tailweaver Victorious. Interesting name. Tail is spelled Tael. Dear Mark and Tyler, I hope you're well. Subreddit, I'm a mere lurker, a non-sports knower at that. Despite my sports ignorance, I have an eye for quality, and that eye is sore. What happened to the presentation? Even the most pedantic jacuzzes had wit to them. Now I can't help but turn my nose to the dull, uninspired ramblings you soil the name jacuzz with. But this is not a mere jacuzz. This is a call to action. A challenge, you could say. I throw my gauntlet at all to up their jacuzz game. I demand the most dramatic, heart-filled jacuzz that leaves those who read them imbibed with passion it exudes. I humbly request the master of balls and holes and his friend Mark endorse this challenge. You have been endorsed. I endorse this challenge. I want more high-quality jacuzzes. I want you to come at us with all you got. Bring me the passion. Bring me the ambiance. Bring me the energy to propel to the highest point of podcasting imaginable. And with that, this humble host, well, really, I just read it off of this post, bids you adieu. Thank you, Tailweaver Victorious. I fully agree. I think you guys can be more creative. I think you can build something incredible. If you want the attention, you need to bring the energy, bring the ambiance, bring your power, and show us what you have. I am proud of this podcast, and you guys make it better. You guys are the reason this podcast is where it is. I appreciate the fuck out of every single one of you. And I know I just said fuck. When it's just me, I don't curse that much, but seriously, this podcast is my baby, and I love hearing responses from you guys. I love being jacuzz about mistakes that I make. I don't care what level it is. Early on, it got to me a little bit because I really wanted to make something you guys would enjoy, and I realized your jacuzzes were working with me to help make that happen, and at the same time, adding something so much more to the podcast. I want to do more things that engage with you guys, and I do my best to pay attention to the Discord. I think I'm actually the most active burl in the Discord. If you don't know what that is, you need to go to the Discord. There's a link on the Reddit. Just search for the Discord link. The Discord's called Distractigo. If you want to get merch, you can go to store.gmfst.com. And if you want to work on the Reddit, which is what this jacuzz is located at, it's reddit.com/r/gmfst. But you guys make this podcast what it is. And I can't thank you guys enough for listening, watching, and indulging me sharing my passion for various sports and my passion for being comedic and having fun with my friends, especially with Mark, whether he's a puppet or a cardboard cutout or here in person or even other people to come on the podcast. Frankly, I want to get more guests on the podcast. And I think that's something you guys can help with. One, by making the podcast reach higher on the charts, sharing it with somebody. Just share it with one person. If you enjoyed an episode a lot, please share it. Please comment. Please, post about it or do something that takes you maybe 2 seconds to do, but means the world to making the podcast better. I want to be able to get big names on here. There are people that we've reached out to that have unfortunately declined the podcast. And I don't know if it's because they don't understand it or if there's team or if we're not notoriety enough. I don't know what it is, but I want to get more guests on here to talk about their sports life, to really bridge the gap for people that don't know sports and why people are passionate about sports. These people open their world to you guys and the amazing community that exists around GMFST and around Mark and all of us in the creative space, especially my community of people who support my YouTube, which if you want to check that out, I haven't been posting in a bit, but I hope to get back. Or people from my Twitch channel or people who follow me on Twitter. You guys literally have changed our lives and have made it so that we can do things so much more creative. The way we feel is best to repay you is by putting our best foot forward in the creative process. If you guys are able to share or or do various other things, I know Spotify doesn't have a liking feature, but to bring notoriety more to the podcast, or even if there's guests that you think of or know, or somebody you want to connect with us and think would be a great person to talk to that's in the professional sports area or coming up through sports, whether at the college level or otherwise, I think it would be great. I'd love to be able to hear people's stories in sport and share those and do more guests and more content that expands the principles of just teaching you sports, but more so teaching you about the people within sports and why sports are so meaningful for so many people across the world. So with that, I'm going to end it. I'm going to end the episode. I think I've dealt with enough of your jacuzzes. I hope that satisfies a lot of you guys. I really want to include you in more. I hope we can do more Q&A stuff. I'd love to have more interactions with you guys. I'd love to see you guys. I'd love to be able to actually go places and do an episode live if Mark's open to that. There's a lot of different things I'd like to do with this podcast. And frankly, I just always want to keep improving and making the best content for you guys. So thank you guys so much for supporting GMFST in the way that you are. If you can, share it with somebody you know, somebody who might be interested in it. Post about it, interact with it. We have a TikTok. We also have the YouTube channel that posts shorts, and we also have an Instagram account. So those are all ways you can easily just hit the share button to your stories or reposting, which I know exists on TikTok. So if you want to support us in that way, if you want to support us even more, we do have the merch stored at gmfst.com. And if you want to interact with us, the Reddit is the best place, but I'm also on the Discord. And maybe I'll use the Discord for something fun in the future. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye!
Bye, guys.